Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar where we'll be handling tips and then we'll walk through project 2 for the business analysis nano degree. I really apologize for not coming in time with this project. Like, so much has been happening and then it made me kind of late. I'm really sorry for doing this late. I was supposed to do this I think last week or by Sunday. Early Sunday. Today is Wednesday already, going to Thursday. So as usual, if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to write them on Slack, and then I'll check them out, right, and answer them at the end of the session. So we'll be starting in a few minutes. Time for one to join if it's available. Time for anyone to join if he or she can. So basically, we'll just walk through the project, check the rubrics, and then I'll just give a brief walkthrough. Will not do all the project because then it will not be then it will no longer be your project, right? But we'll just handle a few things and then hopefully using the tips and the suggestions you can get the project passed in one shot or with your first trial. So be effectively starting in 2 minutes. All right, guys. So let's start. So project 2, analyze New York Stock Exchange data. So introduction. So basically, in this project, would have data that has already been cleaned. We'll have clean data, and then from the data, would have to create a dashboard. I would need to use we need to use descriptive statistics on the data to get insights from the data or to communicate insights from the data, and then we'll need to forecast scenario or to forecast the scenario using data. So introduction in this project will analyze real life data. Will analyze real life data from the New York Stock Exchange. You will be drawing a subset of a large data set provided by Cargo that contains historical financial data from S&P 500 companies. We've created a smaller subset of the data that you will be using for the project. Uh, what do I need to install? I think basically any spreadsheet, Excel, Google Docs will do. But again, we'll be working with Excel 2016. We're working with Excel 2016. So if you followed everything in the lessons, then this project should be pretty straightforward. Actually, a couple of people have completed it already and they're already onto SQL. So it's a pretty straightforward project. Right. So the first part is a set of quizzes. It's not rated. The second part is what we're most concerned with. The second part of your project is the portion you will return for review. You'll need to create a presentation and a spreadsheet to review. The details of the submissions are provided in the last page in this lesson. Pay attention to the details of the rubric to assure you have all deliverables. In order to have your presentation reviewed, you need to save your slides as a PDF. Don't forget, save as a PDF. You can save your spreadsheets as a Microsoft Excel workbook or Google Spreadsheets. So understanding the data, it just gives us a general understanding of the data, ticker symbols, the years, period ending, data revenue, cost of goods sold, sales, general administrative expenses. It just gives us an understanding of the data of the columns in the data. So here we have a few questions. And then here, when you do the project and you have to plot a graph, please make sure that your graph has all of these, right? Your graph has a title, your graph has axis levels. If not, you risk, or there's a high chance of your project not passing because of these, right? I think university reviewers are very strict on data communication. If you're plotting a graph, then the graph should have both axes labeled and the title. So just go to project details. Um, this project is connected with an introduction to the data part of the course, but depending on your background knowledge, you may need to take this module. You may not need to take this module to complete the project. So for the final project, you conduct three tasks. Number one, complete your own data analysis and create a presentation to share your findings. Number two, develop a dashboard for profit and loss statement. And three, create a financial forecasting model using three scenarios. You should start by taking a look at your data set and brainstorming which subcategory and company you want to focus your analysis on. The questions leading to this page should have assisted in this process. Then you should use the spreadsheets and other Excel-like software to conduct your analysis and choose a subcategory and company you're most interested in. This project is open-ended in that there is no right answer. Project goals: number one, here are the three tasks you need to do to complete the project. Identify the question about the data that you answer based on your analysis. So your question should include at least one categorical variable and one quantitative variable, right? And they require the use of at least one of the summary statistics. A tab within the Excel sheet spreadsheet that you submit to include the summary statistics. So you will need to submit the Excel sheet, and then you will need to submit a PDF document that summarizes your findings, right? And I'd advise that you give summary statistics for both measures of central tendency, that's mean, median, and the measures of spread, right? So we should include the summary statistics, measures of central tendency, mean, median, and mode. And this is an and it is not an or, right? And measures of spread, standard deviation, and range used to answer your question. B, create a presentation that provides at least one visualization to help with your answer. So this one, you create a visualization to help with the answer that was posed. So you can either create a line chart, a bar graph, a histogram, scatter plot, as the case may be, depending on the questions that you've posed. And that's tool is to create a dashboard for profit and loss statement that calculates the gross profit and operating profit. For companies selected from a drop-down list, your drop-down list should pull historical fundamentals data to create the P&L statement. The P&L statement should include the gross profit, operating profit, or EBIT values for all 3 years. There is historical data available for that company in the data set. And text 3, create a financial model for a company of your choice that forecast the gross profit, operating profit, or EBIT for 2 or more years using 3 scenarios: best case, weak case, and base case. Assumption for revenue, gross, and operating margin should change for each scenario. So the first thing, these are tips on how to handle the project. Get organized. right? When you complete your analysis and presentation, you'll want to submit your project. Get organized before you begin. I recommend creating a single folder that will eventually contain the presentation with a visual summary, original dataset, a copy of the spreadsheet workbook you use to do the analysis of your report that contains at least the following: the data file, summary statistics, P&L, dashboard, scenario. So these are the things that we'll be expecting to see on your spreadsheet, submitted spreadsheet. So analyze your data, look through the task described above and select the qualitative variable and quantitative variables you want to focus your analysis on for the various tasks. Then use the .csv file to conduct your data analysis. And three, create your presentation or assemble your worksheet. Well, I think basically that is it, right? And then once you're done with the project, you want to check that it conforms with the project rubric, right? You want to see that all of these are met. Student has uploaded the PDF report necessary for review. The student has provided link for Google Sheet on Excel file. So all of these are a must. You must submit a PDF, and you must also submit a Google or an Excel file, or give a link to Google Sheet. And then take note, student should provide an Excel file as a part of a zipped folder or link to Google Sheet, and this file should include their profit and loss statement and forecast, right? So the spreadsheet should contain individual tabs for the data set, calculation of the summary statistics, and the dashboard for profit and loss statements and forecasting with model scenarios. There can be additional tabs in the workbook that are needed for the dashboard and forecasting models, as the case may be. Student is able to calculate measures of central for quantitative data and interpret it correctly. So here, you not just have to calculate the measures of central tendency, that is median, mode, and mean, but also you have to interpret it, right? For example, here's an insight based on the mean. The mean total revenue for companies categorized under pharmaceuticals industry was higher compared to the mean total revenue for all healthcare industries. It looks like companies in the pharmaceutical industry have a higher total revenue on average, right? That is what it means. That is what the first statement means, right? It's an insight. So to then use standard deviation and range to generate insights. Stating the standard deviation and range is insufficient. Please include in the written description a short insight related to each one. For example, please review the finished examples line in the classroom, which can be found in this. Right, and then the student is able to build graphs. So then use at least one plot to explore the data. Plots may include histograms, box plots, scatter plots, and bar charts to explore data and gain insights. All slides must include a visualization. Right, and screenshots of values in the tables are not considered to be a visualization or a graph. And then, very important, an appropriate visual is chosen to represent the data. All labels are legible, and all labels are legible, and the visuals are appropriate axis levels. Every visualization should have a title, x-axis, title, x-axis labels, y-axis title, y-axis labels. Communication. The student is able to avoid making inferential or causal statements when using descriptive statistics. You should not say, for example, that it is all companies, all pharmaceutical companies, for example, in the world. You say all pharmaceutical companies in the S&P 500, or all S&P 500 pharmaceutical companies, or something like that, right? Don't give a whole population, don't imply things that are not implied. The results do not imply facts about a larger group of individuals based on descriptive values. Language is only applied to the specific data provided unless a correct analysis beyond the course material is conducted that allows for inference. So the student is able to choose a correct analysis or plot given data type. The analysis associated with answering a particular question uses the appropriate variables, summary statistics, and plots that provide an answer. You should not use a plot that would not make sense for that particular question that one will be trying to answer. Then finally, the student is able to correctly use the financial metrics input the correct formula for each of the business metrics in the income statement and forecast model, and the student provides appropriate assumptions for financial model scenarios. Student provides appropriate assumptions based on gross margin, revenue growth, and the operating margin for the financial model scenarios. And here's about the use of Excel. The student can use various Excel functions. The student demonstrates using VLOOKUP, index, and match statements. So basically, one would have to make sure that his or her project, meets all of these rubric items. So back here, so to start the project, I think there's something here, right? So here's an example question. Does the healthcare sector have similar expenditure levels for research and development than the IT sector in year one? That, for example, is the question that one is trying to answer. And then have R&D expenses for healthcare sector in year one, R&D expenses for IT sector in year one, and then having all of that data, it's plotted, and then summary statistics calculated, then um, a good comparison can be made. So then a good comparison was made, and from that, right, you see that they didn't just take the mean. They said the mean for healthcare is about this, and for IT is slightly above this. However, the median is double the median for healthcare. Standard deviation is also slightly more for IT, and that means that the variability. See, after you've stated the summary statistics, you have to interpret it. That means that the variability in research and development expenses for IT companies is higher, with more companies spending over 9 billion and more than 50% of the IT companies spending more than 590 million that year. Right. So this is what the example of what would be expected. So notice the graphs. You have a title. You have axis levels, right? You have a title and axis levels. So let's download the data here, I think, or is it project details? Project overview. So this is the data. I think I've downloaded it already. It's open in Excel. So here we are, right? So here is the data. All right. It's worth noting that for Mac, I've noticed an error on Macs, that sometimes when you try to perform addition on these values, it doesn't work because I don't know, it seems like it doesn't recognize it as numbers. So if you have that problem, please just let me know, and then I'll download the data set, convert it to an Excel sheet, or to an Excel, yeah, it's an Excel file, and then send it back to you. Right, then you'll be able to work with no problems. And also, let me just point this out. I don't know, I noticed this with mine. Right, this is currency. Like if we go to home, it's got that all of this is currency, but when I click on this, it gives me general, and this is the value. See, when I click on something like this, it gives me general, and that is the value. So if I do just go in an empty cell, like on cell M, what is it called, to this plus, let me say this, I'm sure it's going to give me an error, right? If you've seen, it gives me an error because Excel doesn't understand this type. So I'm just going to quickly select all of this and change it to currency. Let me try this now. So equals this plus this, still the same thing. Let me see. All right, so let's just undo that. Fine. So I'll just use a find and replace function. find and replace. So I'm looking for all of these, and then I'm going to replace all of it with the value 0, right, such that I'll not have those errors. So you take replace all. So now we're good, right? And if I select this and then I assign it to currency, I think we're good. I select all of this and assign to currency. Let me just do it for all currency columns, such that the number of decimal points would be like 2 or so. Okay, cool. So one of the things that we want to do, right, that will ease our work is to rename the columns we're going to work with. For example, here we have ticker symbols. Let's select all of the ticker symbols by pressing Ctrl Shift and down. Right, so it goes from B2, right, from the second row to row 1711, and then we'll just name this range, right? So this is an application of named ranges. Just name this range as ticker underscore symbol, and this good. And then we'll do the same thing here from C2 to C 1711. We'll give it the name years. Just put years list. We'll not really need the date, so it's fine. Here from E2 to E, total revenue, to E 1711. Name it total revenue sold F2 to F 1711. TOG on this console. So this is sales. Double click here. Sales general and administrative expenses. So G2 to G7. Sorry, 1711 with SGA underscore expenses. Here, the same thing here. H1711. Name this. What is this? R&D. Search and and dev. Other operating items. I 711. Other up items. Other operating items. I think we're good. Right, we're good with this. So for the first question, for the first thing we're supposed to do, right? The first thing we're supposed to do here, it says that identify question about the data you would like. You will answer based on your data analysis. Your question should include at least one categorical variable and one quantitative variable. So here it's, as they said, it's an open-ended project. You would have to come up with your own question and how you'd answer it. So you would, an example question could be like, Between healthcare and information technology, what sector generated more revenue in the second year? Right, healthcare and information technology. What sector generated more revenue in the second year? And so there are many ways of handling these. There are many ways of handling these. Of solving this question. One of them could just be to, oh, one way could just be to insert a pivot table. If we take insert pivot table, um, let's take the whole data set, use an external source, and we want to put it in a new worksheet. Mm, I think we're good. Fine. So that's a pivot table, right? What do you want to be in the pivot table? I think what we want is revenue. We want revenue to be our rows. We want revenue to be a values, and then we'll take the sector to be our rows, right? Sector will be our rows, and then the years will be our columns. So here already see that it already gives us a good description of the data, right? So here we have sum of total revenue. So this total revenue for the consumer discretionary sector for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Right, so these are the values already, right? You could apply more filters. Let's filter by sector. So here we have all sectors, but we want just information technology and health. So like multiple items, healthcare and information technology. Mm. It seems it summed everything for both of them. Well, let's remove this bag. Remove. Just put it anywhere. Then back here, what did we have? We had sectors here. All right. So like that is kind of it. So healthcare information technology. This one is the sum of the revenue for the first year, second, third, and the fourth years. We can change the values that we're calculating here by going to by clicking on any one of them. Then going to summarize values by. Here we have some. We could take average. We could take the minimum, the maximum, or as the case may be, anyone, right? So that is basically it. Mm, Let me delete this. Another way we could handle these would be to apply filters. So let's go to data and then filter. And then we're talking about year 2. And then what we want is healthcare, for example. Don't want everything, we want just healthcare. Good. So this is all we have. So we can copy all of this data to new sheet, right? Total revenue for all of this to new sheet. Right, to new tab. So let me see, HC total revenue. Mind you, this is just some pretty rough work. Paste. Seems I didn't copy the data. So copy here and then we paste. Control V, and so that is healthcare. And then we can do the same, right? We can apply a filter for remove that for the information technology sector, and then gives us everything for year two for the information technology sector. Right, we can also do the same thing. We could copy and then have total ref, that total ref info tech paste. I didn't copy, it seems. Copy and then paste. Double click to expand. Good. So basically, we have all the data. We can do everything we want to do here, right? We can calculate the sum is equal to sum. And do the same thing here. We can calculate the standard deviation. Go to standard. This in a better way. Copy all of this column. Get this column and paste it here. It, so here we can have value for sum, max, mean, standard deviation, you can have range, right? You can have variance, whatever. And then for these, it's simply going to be equal to sum of this range. Enter, and here is going to be sum of this range. Enter. Oops. It. Sorry, and put the equal sign equals to sum of this range. Something's wrong somewhere. What do I do? Equals to sum. Yep. Oh, alright, that's what is happening. Of this range. So that's basically it, right? So we can do the same thing, just applying Excel functions equal to max, returns the largest value. I'm not sure that's a value for range, but range can be easily be calculated by using max minus mean. See, I think this range actually. Range can be calculated easily by taking the max minus the minimum, and then we can have the variance equal to variance s, variance of the sample. So basically that is it, right? Basically that is it for the first part, and may need to plot the data. Excuse me, let me do this again. As you saw, for example, in the slide, you may need to plot this is year 2. You may need to plot all the data for the let me see, if we copied all of this with the tickers, right, then it could be very much easier. But in any case, let's try to plot something. Try to plot something in search. See. Histogram. If we put histograms, we'll have to control the size of the bins, right? But no matter what chart you choose here, you have to choose a chart that correctly answers the question that was posed. Okay, so here we can say histogram of total revenue for in four information tech companies of the S&P 500. like S&P 500 companies. S&P 500 companies. And here we'd have a frequency, access options, minimum, maximum. Where's the label? Access titles. We include that. I here what is always here for program can be frequency or the number of companies, and then this one is revenue. Revenue. So the goal here is just to choose an appropriate chart to display the information or to convey the information that the answer says, right? And also don't forget to use summary statistics here, and then excuse me, and then interpret it. Here, for example, if we discover that the median, the mid, and the mode, right, for information technology is always greater than that uh, of total revenue for information technology is always greater than that of medical or health, then we'll say that on average, right, a medical company of an S&P 500, of the S&P 500, or in the S&P 500 stock has approximately this amount, right, as revenue, which is much higher than that the revenue gotten, the average revenue gotten by a company that is in this other market, right, or in under the healthcare sector. So basically, that is it for the first question. I think we've covered pretty much everything, right? I think we've covered pretty much everything. So let me just delete this sheet, but we may not need to delete it. In fact, let me leave it here. Again, this is just very rough sheet, right? It's just to walk through the project briefly. So now for the next part of the project, we told for the next part of the project, we told that we should create a dashboard for profit and loss statement that calculates the gross profit, operating profit, or EBIT for company selected from a drop-down list. Your drop-down list should pull historical fundamentals data from to create a P&L statement. All right. So here, this task is a little bit more involved. So the first thing that I would advise that we do is overclear the filters. Hope everything is gone. Hope everything is gone. Good. We at 1711. All filters gone. So our advice again. I'd advise that we start by. Well, since we've done that already, let me see. Good. Done that already. Let me start by naming our ranges because it'll make work quite easy for us, right? And then we don't want the symbols repeating all the time. So one of the things that we want to do in our income statement would be just to have a single value for each, or the list of all tickers, or the set of tickers, right, without repetition. So one way of doing that is simply to select the column, go to data and click on, I think it's sort and filter, click on advanced, and then you want to copy to another location. The list range is, nope, this is not the list range, this is not what we want to copy. We want to copy B1 to B171, not A. just clear this and select, right? Just clear this and select the range we want. Copy the ticker symbols, and we want to copy to, we'll move this to another subsheet later, but you must only copy to the same sheet. So let's just select this cell here, copy here, and then we take unique records only, and boom, we have this. We can now copy all of this. We can cut it to a new subsheet. We can name this ticker symbol. So I think this is one of the first things that we want to have ticker symbols, right? Let me just rename the sheet as this one is the data. Mm, useful, useful lists. Now, the first thing that we want to do in creating the income statement, they said that the income statement should, instruction says that your drop down list should put historical, the company selected from a list, right? So once you want to include a list, first of all, here a list of the companies, so the different tickers, the companies are what are called tickers. Want to put tickers, and then let's put the lists of tickers here. So go on the data and click on data validation. Here it is, data validation, and then we want to allow values from a list. What lists? This lists. Data from this list. Good. So here our list is functional already. You can pick the companies from here. Right. So you can now come here and write something like, all right, so what are we trying to do? We're trying to have an income statement. And then the income statement has some particular characteristics, some particular features. Has cost of goods sold. So we'll first of all start by revenue. Alright, look for revenue in bold. Rupee. Then we have cost of goods sold. Sold. Then we'll have gross profit. And then have I think it's sales, general, and administration and administrative expenses. Let's see. Well, sales and an admin expenses that would have a research and development. After that, have total operating expenses. So we have other operating expenses, right? We have other, I think there's a list, column for other operating expenses, and then total. operating expenses is bold, and then operating profit is bold too. Let's click here. Good. And then the instruction says that you should be able to pull data for each of the years, right? You should be able to pull data from each of the years. So we have here year one, year two, year three. The 3 years. To make things easy again, I'm just going to rename the cell here and just call one. And then this one to here and just call two. So here underscore 3, and also I'm going to rename this cell to ticker. So hmm, a lot of time has passed already. So one of the things that we want to do now is just go back here, like to make things a little easy for us, right? To make things a little easy for us here, or to that may validate the information. We may not use it the way it is. Let's see if I insert becomes of this range, no name. Skip. What becomes of this range? SGA expenses, great. Name stays beautiful. So total revenue minus cost of goods sold should give us um cost profit which is equal to total revenue. Let me just do this minus this, and then pull this down. What just happened? I left the grid. Pull this down. Okay, the 4 years, so I need to include one more year. Right, so everything that we've calculated, let's just change the color so you know that has a calculated value. It didn't come with that. So go to home and then fill color. Use what? Orange, gross profit. So all of this will give me, I think all of this give me some total operating expenses. Expenses. All what I'm doing is not really necessary for the EBIT, but will be used for the forecasting. So I just want us to do it now so that we'll just rush over the other part. So it's equal to sum of these numbers. Number one, command, number two, and then number three. And then we pull these through. Three. Good. Great. And there's some specific business metrics that we mentioned. Let's just include all of them. Insert. One of them was the gross margin. So here they just have gross margin. If you remember, the formula for gross margin is 1 minus, go to 1 minus the quotient of the cost of goods sold and total revenue. Yes, correct it. This margin should not be in dollars because you just cancelled the signs. And then the operating margin, which is the operating profit. All right, total operating expenses. Let's calculate operating profit. Forgot something. Operating profit. Profit is equal to gross profit minus total operating expenses. Pull this through. That's operating profit. So operating margin. Operating margin is operating profit over total revenue. I do over total revenue. All right. So let's go back to what sheet were we on. This one, let's just call it dashboard. Rename it dashboard. Oh, dashboard. If you're 4, then I want to rename it to year underscore 4. Okay, so for each of these years and for the value for each of the company, for the selected company, right, for each of the years we want to be able to pull the value of the revenue, the value of the cost of goods sold, calculate the gross profit, pull all of these expenses, and then calculate operating profit, the operating expense, or the operating profit, sorry. So much so that at the change of if we change the company, then the values will change, right? So here we're going to use one of the things I was discussing in the classroom, index match, index and match, index and matching statements. So for this one, for example, if we want the revenue for the first year for whatever company is here, right? So this is equal to, we want to index what array? We want to index total revenue. That's the array I want to index. And then the row number will be given by the match. So we want the match where so we'll be matching by two criteria, right? So we'll first of all have one here to say that one when the result will be 1. Right, when you add the results and will be 1. So look up array. So here we have the first criterion. Look up array. We want ticker where ticker is in ticker symbol. I think you do it anyway, it's going to work. Right, ticker symbol, and then the second value, and then we want where the year one, and the year is equal to year one, something, year one. Then we want an exact match. So we close that, and then we close that. And then exact match. One more parentheses. And when we're applying a formula to arrays, right, to list of values, we want, if you just put enter, it's going to give you an error. So what we want to do is press Command Shift and then enter. Okay, and that gives us a value. So we can check this AIG for year one, what the value is. AIG, AIG year one, that is it, 71, 214. So I think it matches, right? Matches correct. So I want to do the same thing for year two. So we almost the same formula. Same thing, but 1 year. So here lists. So so again, it's the same thing, right? So we're indexing, and then we're taking from the total revenue array, right? The column where the ticker is equal to this, and then the year is equal to this, and want an exact match. So Control Shift and Enter. Quite surprising. What did I miss? Here they seem not to exist. Let me just do this. Go to index array is total revenue. Row number will be a match. I want to match, and the combination of this will be one. And then our first criterion is ticker symbol is equal to ticker. And I want to cross with the second criterion where year lists. Yes, list. I think that's why I was causing the problem. It's equal to year two. And I want an exact match. Want an exact match. Then I want to close all of this. Right, so the same thing, we'll do the same thing for years 3 and year 4. We'll do the same thing for years 3 and year 4. Well, we're going to take a little more time than planned in this session. Formula is equal to U3. Enter and goes same formula Q4 shift enter. So here I think we're good here. Now we can pull this. Well, let's not wake up the gods. This is equal to this, but here we're taking rather cost of goods sold, right? So basically it's the same process all over again. The formula, do the same thing here. I think there's a mistake here too. This should be yes list. Oh, double equal signs. Yes. Here there should be a mistake here. Yes list. Same thing here. Here's list. So the same formula applies here. Equal to yes. Equal to yes lists. For shift enter, the gross profit will be this minus this. So here we'll still need to pull, it's practically the same thing, we'll still need to pull data from, it's practically the same thing, we'll still need to pull data from the corresponding lists, right? We'll still need to pull data from the corresponding list and then sum them. So here already, see how this works. Like if we change the ticket, then the data changes automatically. So this is like what they're asking, right? This is like what is being asked. So AVGO, it seems as if AVGO has no 3 and 4 data. Let's check that out. AVGO. Good. AVGO has just year 1 and year 2 data. Year 1 and year 2 data. Year 1 and year 2 data. Good. So that works. So that's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the second part. So just need to do the same for this one, and then total operating expenses will be the sum of all these three, and then operating profit will be gross profit minus the total operating expenses. So at the end of the day, should have something like this for that, something like this, right? This is what you should be looking at. Change the ticker. So at the end of the day, you'll have something like this. And then for the last part about the forecast, so we're trying to forecast year 4 and year 5 data, right? So we'd have 2 more years, year 4, sorry, year 5 and year 6 perhaps. Year 5 and year 6. So and remember we told to forecast. Let me read that again. Text to create a financial model for company different from text. So if you choose that forecast out the gross profit, operating profit, EBIT for 2 or more years using three scenarios: best case, weak case, and base case. Your options for revenue growth, gross margin, operating margin should change for each scenario, right? So what we want to do here, what we want to do here first will be to set a cell for scenario. And scenario will come from a list. In data validation, we can have here scenario, strong case, weak case, base case, scenario, strong case, base case, and weak case. Then remember, this will be a total different sheet, right? When you'd want to do this on the total different sheet. You want to have one sheet for the data, one sheet maybe for the first part of the question, and then one sheet for the EBIT and the other sheet for the forecast scenario. So here again, go to data and then data validation. So we want data from a list, allow a list source. Here is our source. Okay, so scenario, we click here, we have either strong case, base case, or weak case. So the matrix that we have for the operating statistics, that we also have revenue growth, gross margin, and then operating margin. Here we can just have a column here that picks out of this four and says historical. Just merge, home, merge. So this one is historical data and this one is all forecasts. And same thing here. Rating starts in the first 4 years depending on the company would have historical, and then for the next two forecast. Forecast, rather than having forecast here, would have the assumption that will let us to make the forecast upright assumptions. So here for the revenue growth, it's almost the same thing. Revenue growth and the gross margin, it's almost the same thing that was done. It's almost the same thing as we did at first, right? So for gross margin, for example, gross margin is equal to index. And what are we trying to index? Did we rename gross margin? I don't know, I'm not sure. Gross margin. Sorry. Let's go back there. So we want to name this. Want to name from M2 to M1711. Want to name it gross margin. Come here. So here we're trying to index it, index the gross margin. Row number will be match. Trying to match where the combination of criterion will be 1. First criteria is tick a symbol equals data. Then the second is here. Yeah, lists. Go to year 1. Talk about year 1 here. Once exact match. Good. So that's the gross margin percentage. Like reduce this to 2 decimal points, right? Reduce this to 2 decimal points as the case may be. So we just have to do the same thing here for year 2, year 3, year 4. Let me just do that very fast. Year 3, 4. Save the correction. So for operating margin is the same thing, right? The other thing that would change would be the array value. So equals not sure we've named the array operating margin yet. So name this operating margin. So this is equal to gross margin anymore, but operating margin. Hmm, operating margin. That's where the error is coming from. Good. So the same thing here. And the same thing here. And then same thing here. Right. You can already guess how this will go, right? So um revenue growth is equal to formula for revenue growth is current revenue minus previous revenue, all that minus one in percentage. So here we can do that here. It's equal to year two revenue minus year three revenue. Oh, sorry, year one revenue, all of this. So, so all of this minus one. Oh, I did minus instead of divided by. Convert this to percentage. Year 3 minus year sorry, equal to year 3 minus, so divide that by, sorry, year 2 of this minus 1. Again, this is a percentage. Oops, lose it. Percentage, and then year 4 divided by year 3 minus 1, and that is a percentage. So now for each of this business matrix, right, we'll have to assume, let's say business metric 1, revenue growth, strong case, weak case. We'll have a strong case first. Case, weak case. So we need to make an assumption. We need to make an assumption of what the revenue growth in the strong case is going to be, given that, or using the historical revenue growth, given that the maximum that we've seen here is 10. Let's say that if the strong case, if the revenue wants to grow by too much, let's put here maybe 11%, and for year 5, and then year 6. Strong case, the same thing. Right? We assume there's going to be constant base case. It stays says 9 to read 9. Take an average of all of these. Let's say 6%. And then weak case less than that 2%. 2%. So we need to do the same thing for all the other business metric, right? We need to do the same thing for gross margin and then for operating margin. And then using that, we're going to forecast the revenue for year 5 and year 6, right? So forecasted revenue for year 5, for example, forecasted revenue for year 5, for example, is going to be the revenue of the previous year times 1 plus the rate of this year. So be equal to revenue of this previous year times 1 plus. So now it will now depend on the scenario that we've chosen here, right? It will now depend. Okay, let's put this here. Let's just put this here. 1 plus whatever is going to be here. Sorry, here. 1 plus whatever is going to be here. It gives us the same value because there's nothing here. But we want the values that are here to be dynamic, right? We want the values that are here to be on this assumptions part to be dynamic. So we're going to set the values here to be equal to, again, well, let me just do 1, to be equal to, and then here we would want to use perhaps the offset function, right? And then since we're talking about revenue growth, we want to start here. The reference will be this one. So the rows will be match. Would have the row, we use a match function. So we'll be trying to match the scenario. Did I give this a name? I didn't give this a name. Let me give this a name before doing this. I want to name this scenario. It's on the scenario list. So the assumption for revenue growth is auto offset, and then cell reference we start from here, and then the rows we want to match value, but whatever we choose as the scenario. Right, lookup array. We want to take it from here. Here to here. That is a lookup array. Let's make this absolute, since we'll not be changing sorry, that is it. And then the match type, want an exact match. And then the column, since we are on this same column, will be column 0. And then we can close. I think we're good. I think we're good. And then here we want the same thing, but for column 1. Here's the same formula, but this was where we or this is where we were. The offset was here, and then one column after the offset, so it's column 1. Good. So here you see that if we change the base case, then the assumption itself changes. We put a strong case, it changes, right? So now you see that, check the assumption and check the revenue forecast. Like if we change the case, base case goes to 0.6, and then this also changes. And if we change to the strong case, you go to 0.11, and then the revenue would also change. And here it's the same thing, it's equal to revenue of the past year times times 1 plus. Basically that is it. And then we'll need to do the same thing for, this is revenue growth, we'll need to do the same thing for we'll need to do the same thing for gross margin. We'll need to do the same thing for gross margin such that we can calculate the gross profit, and then we'll need to do the same thing for operating margin so you can calculate the operating profit. So what you simply need to do is like to repeat these, right? And given these values, you assume, right? And then here you set offset, the values will be equal to offset, like the same thing that we did here, right? So we'll be trying to match. The offset will start maybe wherever you've defined it, and then we'll be trying to match this case with whatever you put as an assumption. So basically that is it. If anything is not understood, if you need help or with the project, please let me know. But in any case, try, right? It's better to try than to just ask everything. In any case, try and then fail and maybe iterate. But I think we've covered most of it. So good luck on your project. And for those who have completed or who have completed it already, good job. Good job. We'll try to see whether before Sunday or on Sunday you could have the next webinar on SQL. All right, guys. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for being here, and see you on Slack. Bye bye.